CB, who are you starting tonight?
I am starting Drew, Shaden, Jeremy, Denny, DC.
Tumani out.
Tumani's out.
Anyone else on the minute restriction tonight?
Minute restriction, no. No.
Do you have a sense, like, what's Tumani's official? Is he day to day, or what's his kind of immediate outlook?
Yeah, I think it's day to day. We'll get more information, I'm sure, later, but I think it is.
Okay.
I hope it is.
Yeah. When you look at the starting lineup, whatever opening night, I know it's, probably you feel like everybody's making a bigger deal about it than it needs to be, but what factors will go into, how you settle that spot that's open? Like, how will you evaluate that, make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I've been evaluating it, obviously, but, there are a lot of factors that go into it. Who plays who with who plays better with who, mixing and matching, that type of thing. Obviously, in my eyes, obviously with Scoop being out, that made that decision a non-decision. But when we're whole, I feel like we basically got 7 starters, in my eyes. But you can only start 5 guys, and it's not always the best 5 players. It's who's kind of playing the best together, and what you might need off of the bench, or it's just all kind of those little type of things there. But it's always very tough, and again, I haven't really had to deal with this type of thing, and I'm really happy that I have to deal with this type of thing. But at the end of the day, you just want to make the right decision for the team, and who starts the game sometimes is not who ends the game. There's just so many different things, variables, if you will. But I think all of the guys are playing well. To be honest with you, everybody's playing really well. They're playing pretty good together up to this point. So obviously camp is not over. We still got some days and some practices to have and things like that. So it's been a healthy competition.
Envision that goes up to the day before the last possible practice, that decision?
I don't want it to go that far, because whatever decision we end up making, or I end up making, you want to see the group kind of play together a little bit, practice together. So I'm not sure when, but yeah, it's ongoing though.
Are you using tonight or the game in Utah as a dress rehearsal at all, or are you just trying to work through things?
Every game what I've tried to do is kind of continue to get a little more minutes and more minutes for the guys. I'll probably do the same tonight. It's just always good to do this in the actual game as opposed to practice. So my plan is to play the guys a little bit more tonight, and then we'll see if I do that again Thursday. We'll just kind of see.
Tumani's thing just a rest, or is there a treatment, or what is he currently doing?
Yeah, he's definitely getting rest and some treatment. Obviously, the knee's been a little sore, but yeah, of course he's getting all the treatment that he can get. And I know Tumani, and if this was a next on the 22nd, there'll be no way for me to keep him down, and to not play. But we'll just kind of see. But yeah, he's definitely getting all the treatment that he can get.
So if this was a regular season game, he could play?
I believe so. There's times that I've coached Tumani, and there was no way he should have been out there, but he just got out there. So I think we all know that about too.
Chauncey, a couple years ago, you guys led the league in pressing, pressed more than anybody else. Now it seems like the entire NBA has decided they're going to press. Obviously, the popularity in the finals and all that have changed it. But what did you see maybe a couple years ago that made you think like, yeah, let's play 94 feet?
Yeah, I seen a young team that trying to establish something, and I just always felt like when you pressure people, well, I guess I'll say it the other way. When you don't pressure people, you allow them to be very comfortable, and you allow them to just do whatever they want to do. And so, which is why a couple years ago I said, let's just pressure them. Let's see what happens. You know, you make teams play ugly. You challenge every single thing that they do, and maybe they're not so efficient, or maybe they're not as good as we thought, and maybe they are. And so it was I did it with the mindset of let's just find out. Why not? You know, that's kind of the space that we've been in, you know, we were in for the last couple of years. So let's just start trying stuff. And I think that, you know, after talking to so many coaches along that journey that we were on, they learned a lot about it, you know, and said, man, I want to do that. We should do that. So, yeah, it's been pretty cool, but you do see a lot of teams picking up pressure, and I mean, our league is just so young, man. You know, these guys can do it. You know, they can do it. So it's been pretty cool watching it.
It seems like, to my eyes, last year you dialed it back. Maybe not like total number of presses or whatever. I don't have the numbers on that, but just in terms of where you picked up. It seems like maybe a little further back, kind of calling off the dogs. That does not seem to be the case in preseason. Do you think, are you ramping it up? Is that intentional? You're saying like?
Yeah, it's intentional. It's intentional. We just want everybody that's playing to play so hard, you know, and I think that I told our guys this yesterday in practice, but, you know, I just feel like if you play really hard for 5 minutes in an NBA game, you should be tired. You just should be tired, you know, and there's some guys that can play harder for longer, that can play that way, but by and large, you should be tired, you know, and then I'll make the changes, get you in, get you out, boom, but that's how you just kind of wear on teams, and that's kind of like where we're at and kind of what we're doing, you know, but yeah, it's intentional.
Did you dial it back last year, just in terms of like pickup points?
Ish, you know, just a little bit, but we still picked up high, you know, it just wasn't, you know.
Yeah, well, now Nate's jumping up at pointing at the baseline, saying you got to pick him up there. It was more like the 3-point line to my eyes last year.
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely intentional, and, you know, any coach would tell you this when you're in training camp and you want to teach everything as hard as possible, because it's better to try to maybe dial it back than try to turn it up, you know. So we're teaching everything as hard as we can, man.
How do you balance that intensity with having the structural integrity defensively back behind it when you've also got guys like Drew, Tu, and Tease who freelance so differently than so many other defenders in the NBA?
Yeah. It's always a balance, because you're gonna have your principles and concepts, you know, that you will always have, you know, and then you have, like you said, a guy like Tease or Drew that are like kind of artists, you know, they kind of go off on their own, go rogue, but they can fix the problem too, you know. But the guys around them have to learn how to play with them. You know, you have those kind of special guys. Tumani as well. You know, Tumani's a guy that he's used to kind of locking in on his guy. But then there are helps sometimes that he might miss because he's so locked in, you know. So just it's things like that we learn, you know, throughout the preseason and even in the season that we have to adjust to.